Welcome to topic 8 of Windows Server Administration, and topic 8 is PowerShell. PowerShell is one of the shells available to us in the Windows Server. So if I head over to my Windows Server here and I click on the Start menu, all right, you'll see that we have a few options. We have PowerShell and we also have PowerShell ISE. So we also have PowerShell X86. So plenty of options. So what's best to do initially is just open the absolute default PowerShell. So we'll just open that one just now. And you can see it comes up blue text. Now, if I were to do Windows key and R and type CMD, it opens up this shell. Okay, and this is a different shell. This is the CMD shell. Okay, so we have the CMD shell here and we have PowerShell here. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into my PowerShell settings, okay, and make the window a little bit easier to read because obviously this font's very small. So let's just head to the font tab, okay, and we're going to leave it on Consolas because that's quite a good font, but I'm going to put it up to size 20, and then I'm going to go to the colors let me see if I maybe turn up this green or something, see what happens. Let's just fire that up there. Ooh, okay, that's a little bit more, a little bit too harsh. So let's just go back to properties and let's go to the colors. Let's maybe turn the green down a wee bit. We want more of a green. See, it gives you a preview down there. I don't know what I was doing. How happens if we turn up the red? Oh, actually, now you mention it. So you can make your own custom color, all right? And Control-Shift-C and Control-Shift-V, it's good to enable those as copy and paste as well, all right? So I don't think there's anything else that I need to enable in the settings here. If I just click OK here, there we go. That should be easier for people to read, okay, for the purpose of this. And just for the purpose of the video, actually, I think I'll just make the font slightly larger. So let's fire it up to 24. Okay, that looks good. All right, so before we get started, just like the classic CMD shell, all of the commands that work in the CMD shell also work in PowerShell. So perhaps from this day forward, you can stop using the CMD shell and start using this shell instead. Okay, so before we get started on this, let's just look at some of the theory behind it. Right, PowerShell is Microsoft's object-oriented programming language. It is an interactive command line shell, and it's designed to automate system tasks such as batch processing, create systems management tools for commonly implemented processes. So often people who are new to computing will ask, well, why would you do something using the command line when you can do it with the mouse in a graphical environment? And the answer is, if you can do something in the command line, then you can write a script to do it for you. And if you do something very repetitive every day or every week or every month, being able to automate that is very powerful and can save you a lot of effort. So PowerShell uses this concept called Commandlets, okay? Commandlets. And these are objects that can be run from the prompt, and each commandlet has two parts to it, okay? A verb and a noun, okay? Just like normal language. So one of the most useful commandlets, get, okay, to get something, getting, get. To get is the infinitive form of the verb, right? To get, and help is a noun, okay? Get help. And usually the commandlet has this symbol in the middle. Sometimes people call that a dash. Sometimes people call it minus. Sometimes people call it a hyphen. there we go. So automating tasks. So PowerShell offers ways of automating tasks through Commandlets, which are very, very small classes that look like individual commands, scripts, and executables, which are full tools. So an example, here we have install. Okay, to install would be a verb, and Windows feature would be the name. All right, install Windows feature will actually allow you to install a Windows feature. So you know how we go in Server Manager, we go manage, add roles and features. We could do that with PowerShell using install Windows feature. Now, a long time ago in the old days, in Windows Server 2008 and Windows Server 2003, in the CMD shell, there was a command called Server Manager CMD.exe, but that no longer exists. Okay, in Server 2019, we don't use Server Manager CMD.exe. All right, aliases. So in Linux, we're able to alias things, okay, in the shell in Linux, but also PowerShell has aliases. So the reason that PowerShell has aliases is to allow you to seamlessly change from using the Linux shell to using the PowerShell, or from using the CMD shell, like I showed you earlier. So if we jump over here, we're going to talk about get process. So let me just show, let's just type clear, okay? And let me show get process. Get, oh, great. First demonstration of PowerShell. Okay, so you can do tab, but obviously if you have it running in VMware, there we go. Get process, right. So get process gives us the processes running on the system. So obviously CMD is running because we know it's down here, okay? And there's the process ID for that instance of CMD, all right? Other stuff that's running, just general Windows processes in the background, the registry, Explorer, when can we ever kill that? Okay, so one thing to notice is we can now type clear, the same as the command as we had in Linux. Another PowerShell commandlet is called get child item. Get child item is the PowerShell command for ls. So if I type get child item, that will list out the contents of the directory, and it'll even give me the mode of the files, okay? Last write time and the name. Now, get child item works, but also, okay, the old command dir works as well. Dir gives you the same thing. But what's even better than that is ls works too. Okay, so the command get child item is actually aliased to ls, and it's also aliased to dir. All right, and if we type, okay, get alias, we will see a list of all the aliases, and if we scroll up through all the aliases, we should be able to find dir. Let's find there dir, and you can see dir is aliased to get child item. And if we scroll down even further to ls, we shall see that ls is also aliased to child item. And look, man, the Linux command for manuals, is aliased to help. md is aliased to make dir. All right. We've got mv for move. I'm guessing cp will be copy. I haven't tested it, but let's have a look. cp is copy. Okay, so all of the common commands that you know from Linux can be moved over here. CLS will work, and so will clear. All right, but they're actually an alias to the command clear host. So if I was to do clear host, all right, that'll clear. But if I also do CLS, that'll clear. And if I also do clear, that'll clear. So they all work, which is quite helpful. If you don't know the command, you can just try the command that's in Linux. So pwd is the same. It's just an alias of get location. ls is get child item, as I showed you. Man is get help. dir is the same as ls up here. I should probably have those two beside each other, to be honest. And to investigate aliases, you can just type get alias, or more specifically, you can do get alias dir, and it'll give you the specific alias. So if I was to do get alias al get alias man, it'll tell me that man is aliased to help. All right, get alias ls. ls is an alias of the commandlet get child item. Good stuff. Right. PS is the same command in Linux as it is in PowerShell. So if I were to open up a Linux shell here and just do PS, that'll give me some processes. PS minus EF is the command to give the running processes. If I run that same command, PS, on PowerShell, that'll give me the processes. And I'm going to guess it's get process would be the commandlet for it. Let's just do get alias, okay, PS, get process. All right. Now, another thing to notice in PowerShell, okay, is that PowerShell is not case sensitive like Linux. Apparently, Microsoft say that PowerShell is only case sensitive where it matters, whatever that actually means. So get alias is the same as get alias, all right? Get alias PS works the same as get alias PS. These are the same command, okay? It doesn't treat these letters as different, whereas in a Linux shell, these would be different commands. Okay, Linux is case sensitive. Right. PS will give us all the running processes and their CPU usage, or we could write get process. But why would you write get process when you can do PS? PS drive, okay, will show us the volumes running on the system. Okay, so PS, let's just do clear and PS drive. Okay, PS drive will show us our disks running and how utilized they are. So we can see this VMware 60 gig virtual volume. We're using about 10 gig to run. And according to the operating system, it's got another 48 gig spare. Okay, so that's PS drive. Now, pipe, sort, and concatenate work very similar to the way they would work in Linux. So we can do, for example, processes, and then use this symbol, the pipe symbol, to create a pipeline and connect the output of this command to the input of this command. So we can pass the output of PS to sort object, and then we can sort it by this WS flag. Okay, and we can make this very complicated. We can do PS where object process name does not equal PowerShell sort object descending, and then convert to HTML and then pass out as an HTML file, and it'll look something like this. Okay, so it can get quite complicated if we want it to. Some more examples. So get process where start time is greater than or equal to day. All right, get process where object is greater than 1000 meg. Stop process. So we can actually find processes using more than 1 meg of memory and kill them. Calculate the number of bytes in a directory, get child item, measure object, property length, sum. Piping the output of the commands to sort. So we can do dir and pipe that to sort, and we can tell it what we want it to sort by. Okay, so PowerShell variables. You can use any variable name you like, and variable names are not case sensitive. However, PowerShell will throw an error if you use an illegal character or a space in a variable name. So $Microsoft with capital M and S, and all lowercase $Microsoft are the same variable. Okay, so we have here A equals 333, B equals 66, C equals EC, $A plus $B. So $A plus $B here, we would take 333 and 666, what would actually happen is we would get an error message because this, all right, is an integer and this is a string. Okay, B plus C, okay, we would get 66EC because that's a string and that's a string as well. Or maybe we would get an error, I don't know, because we've not put this in quotes. I could test it just now. So let's jump over here and let's do B equals, do we need to put dollar? Yeah, $B. Okay, so $B equals 66. Okay, so now if I do $B, gives me back 66. And let's do $C equals EC. Doesn't like it because it's not in quotes. So let's put that in quotes. Okay, and let's finally make $A. So $A equals 33. Okay, so now we've got, right, we've got $A, $B, and $C. Okay, so if I were to do $A plus $B, give me 99. Oh, okay, interesting. But if I were to do $A plus $C, cannot, right, so it cannot add a string and an integer. So standard error that you would expect. All right. So to assign a variable, we just use A equals 5, and we can use this A.get type. So if we were to do A.get type, all right, it should tell us that this $A is actually an integer, 32-bit integer. Okay, and likewise, if we were to do $C get type, I would hope, if I've not gone completely mad, that it is a string and it is a string. There we go. All right, so there's an example of the int32 data type there. Right, all variables are objects. Okay, all variables are object variables. Not sure exactly what that means. Let me just change that. All variables shouldn't be objects. Variables messed the PowerPoint up. Okay, so all variables are objects. So age get type, name, age. This is just some examples of assigning some objects here. Now, just like we learned in our programming class, we have arithmetic binary operators. So we can do add, minus, we can do is the same as, assignment. We can do add and equals, take away and assign. We can do not, and or. And we can do these comparison operators. So we can have equals or equal to, not equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or less than and equal to. All right. We can also do conditional statements. So if statement 1 would be the predicate, some condition here, else if statement 2, else would be the alternative. Okay. Unlike Python, we have to include our functions in curled braces like Java or C#. So here's a for. For we have some statement, count, and then some code, and then we end the code block with the closed curled brace. So to create a function, we write the word function and we write my simple function. And then to write host, we would write this is a function, close off the function with the curled brace, and then we can just write the name of the function and it will return what's inside the function here. Okay, so we're going to look at that in the lab today on creating a simple PowerShell function. Right, here is a very useful command for a system administrator, get AD user. Now you know already what the verb to get means. I suppose it's similar to the Cisco command show. All right, and then we know what the AD is, the Active Directory, and hopefully by this time in our lives we know what a user is. Okay, so get Active Directory user gets one or more Active Directory users. And obviously we can add various flags onto this, get AD user, filter, and we can give organizational units, and we can give the domain. Now, just a little caveat of Windows, when we're writing out a domain, okay, we have to, every time there's a comma, we have to put DC equals. So what this is saying here, DC equals example, DC equals com, means the domain is example.com. Okay, every time there's a dot, we have to put comma DC equals. Okay, this is just something that happens in Windows, and we'll also look at that in the lab today. So here's an example of the output. There's some names and the account names coming out from the getADuser command. So PowerShell ISE, okay, Microsoft not only gave us a new shell, they also gave us a scripting environment to use the shell. So it's called the Integrated Scripting Environment, and it's a graphical interface. It's an IDE basically for running PowerShell commands. So at the beginning I said, remember we had a look here at all the different sort of PowerShell options. There's PowerShell ISE. So we open up PowerShell ISE. This will give us a little bit more control. So at the moment, this just looks like ordinary old PowerShell, okay? However, we see already we've got some examples of commands over here. There's the add keyword and some other stuff, and we could search through this, okay? The trick is if we do view and we turn on the script pane, this gives us two windows, okay? We can write things up here, and then we can click play to run them, or press F5, and then it'll run down in the script pane down here. So if you were editing a PowerShell script, this would be an ideal environment to do it in. If you were just running PowerShell commands, you could just paste them or run them in here if it was just one command. But if you were editing a large PowerShell script, which is what we're going to do today, then you would want to use the interactive scripting environment to do that. So it's designed for the needs of the administrator. And it's actually quite good. We'll find that out today. So there's an example there. Okay, and look, you can see it's giving you help, just like a kind of a typical IDE. It's giving you hints. And when you go to run stuff as well, it'll come up with little errors, and it'll say, you know, you haven't closed off this code block, or you haven't done this here. So that's just a basic overview of the Windows PowerShell. Let me just open up Lab 8 and show you what we're doing in Lab 8 today. So the first part of Lab 8, I've already actually shown you, okay? Open PowerShell, go to settings, go to properties, and set it up with the color scheme and the font that you actually want, okay? Some people can see very small text, okay? So they don't have to turn the font up. Some people maybe wear glasses, but if they could put the font to size 20, they wouldn't have to wear glasses, and they don't want to wear glasses. Some people do want to wear glasses. So you need to set the color and the font to whatever you like. And just remember, if you were working using this every single day, you would want it to be a font, like you wouldn't want to have to strain to read anything. That would be very annoying if you're doing that. So in the first part, we just run a few commands, like I've shown you, get child item. Then part 2, okay, we will run a command called get time and find out that there's a problem with get time. And so we'll create a function to resolve this, okay? And that function will be called get time. And once this function's created, we'll take a screenshot of it running and just add it to a logbook. So that's the first screenshot we need for today, okay? The get time function. Don't worry about this stuff running up here. The second screenshot we need is an interesting game called Guess the Number. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called number, and we're going to run get random 10 on it, okay? And that's going to give us a value between 1 and 10, okay? I've set this to 100. We can change that to 10, or we could change this to 100, all right? Now, the next line, we're going to create a while loop. So while the variable number does not equal to the variable of guess, so we're going to input a guess, okay? Right host new line, what is the number? And then we're going to return it's either too high or it's too low. And then we're going to return that's correct. Now, hopefully, I would hope that everyone here is familiar with the game Guess the Number, or can at least understand. So the computer is going to pick a random number between 1 and 10, and you're going to put in a guess, and then the computer is going to say that's too low, so you'll guess higher, or that's too high, so you'll guess low. And then when you get the right number, the computer will say that's the right number. Now, I have been in classes before where people have they didn't understand this game, or they never played this game before. So if you're not familiar with this, this will be an interesting exercise. Hopefully most people will understand the concept of guess the number. Right. Finally, and this is the interesting part, adding Active Directory users. So what we're going to do, okay, is, and I said that we needed Active Directory for today installed, we're going to add a bulk amount of users to the Active Directory. And how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to start off, first of all, by running the command new AD user. And that's all well and good if you just want to add one user with no attributes. But if you want to add, let's say, 100 users or 1,000 users, then you're going to have to come up with a slightly better command. So the task for today is to go to this GitHub page. Okay, let's just jump this open here and download. All right, oh, looks like he's updated it. Thank you, Rob Bridgman. Self-taught everything, pretend to know what I'm talking about. What a legend. So if we download the code here, okay, download zip. Now, I would advise you to do this inside the virtual machine. In fact, let me do it here. I'm going to have to do it with Internet Explorer, unfortunately. Let me just grab the URL to make life slightly less painful. On my last server, I had Firefox installed, but let me just grab this. Now, this causes a big drama for some people, and I don't know why. It's very straightforward. So Nick Teaming still says it's enabled. How annoying is that? So let's do right click and go delete. Let's delete the Nick team. Hopefully that'll stop. Team interfaces is off. Right. So now I can see down the bottom corner, I now have internet access on my domain. So let's go back to Internet Explorer. And let's just load up this GitHub page. Looks like it's going to work. And look, it renders so well in Internet Explorer, doesn't it? So let's do, hopefully drop down menus work. Let's try and download the code, because otherwise this is going to be a very tedious exercise where I'm going to have to go and download Firefox onto the machine just to download something. Let's try refreshing this, run it again. Let's add the security exception. Yeah, close. Add, close. Now will you let me download? Oh, dear. Okay, let's resolve this. I mean, they don't make it easy to get to the internet, do they? I've added an exception to Bing, your own search engine, Microsoft. I've added blank as an exception. Let's see if we can just grab Firefox through this horde of horrible, horrible pop-ups. Okay, keep adding exceptions. And hopefully Firefox is going to download. It's like a game. Come on, download. Please. Please, I'm just adding exceptions to stuff. Download. Right, stop asking me. Your download should begin automatically. Please download. Download again. Come on. I'm adding so many exceptions. It still won't download. Oh wait, it's worked. It's worked. It's worked. It's worked. Right. What do we want to do? Save. Running security scan. Run, please run the Firefox installer. My God. Okay, Firefox is now installing. So once we get Firefox installed, we should be able to get to the internet, and we should be able to get, so there, hopefully that's helpful. If anyone at home's having difficulty getting the machine onto the internet or understanding how to get things to work. So let me just get a little bit more organized, and let's close down some of these 100 windows we have open. Let's get rid of the CMD shell. We don't use that anymore. Let's get rid of the PowerShell, and let's get back to Internet Explorer. Let's go to the GitHub page. Let's try clicking on download again. Still doesn't work. So let's grab the URL, copy, and hopefully we can paste this URL into Firefox when it downloads, because obviously Internet Explorer is making it as difficult as possible to make this work. Okay. Oh, there's our icon on the desktop. Firefox will be ready in just a few moments. I'm guessing it's going to automatically launch itself. Let's put a little icon down there. Will I wait for it to launch, or will I launch it? Let's launch it. So thankfully, we can almost close down Internet Explorer. Let's just copy this, and let's go here and do Control V and run. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as soon as I see this page opening, right, I'm going to close Internet Explorer now. I'm going to remove it from the taskbar so that we don't accidentally open it again later on, because obviously it'll slow the machine right down. Okay. People wonder why we use Linux these days. Code, download zip. Right. Let's download the zip and save and click OK. 5 meg. Okay. So the zip is now downloaded. So we can now close Firefox, close tabs, and we can close Internet Explorer, and we can remove Internet Explorer from the taskbar so we don't ever have to open it again. Thank goodness. Right. So in the downloads folder, we have this AD importer. All right. So what I'm going to do is cut that, and I'm going to create a new folder in documents called PS1. Okay. And that'll be our PowerShell script folder. I'm going to put the AD importer master into there. I'm going to extract all here, and we will leave the destination as exactly where we want it to be. Now, if we go back to PS1, we'll see we have 2 directories now. Just to tidy this up a little bit, we're going to take all of the contents of AD importer master, and we're going to copy it to the root of PS1. Okay, so we don't technically need this folder anymore. Okay, and just to keep things tidy, I'm going to cut the zip file, and I'm going to pop it back in the downloads folder. So now we have a clean directory called AD importer in documents, and we have these files here. Okay, so how are we going to edit? Which one of these is the PowerShell file? It's this one. So if I right click on that and click edit, okay, it's going to automatically open with the PowerShell interactive scripting environment. I hope so anyway. Let me just open, here we go. So there you are, it's opened with PowerShell ISE. So let's kill this other thing. Now, our task for today is not to be intimidated by this very large PowerShell script, but to edit this very large PowerShell script. Now, this is your task, okay? At the moment, right, we have line 25 must be changed. Line 25 must be changed. Okay, we also have line 45 must be changed. But I can safely tell you no other lines in this script need to be changed. Okay, Control Add, let's zoom in a little bit. Now, what does line 25 mean? OU equals your OU here. You need to put the name of an organizational unit there. Now, you may already have an organizational unit, or you could create one called test. But at the moment, you do not have an organizational unit called your OU here. So you'll need to make one. Secondly, DC equals AC, DC equals local. This means in Windows language that the domain is ac.local. Okay, and that is not the name of your domain. So you need to change that as well. Firstly, to reflect an organizational unit. And secondly, this means ac.local. So if your domain was michael.com, you would put DC equals Michael, comma, DC equals com. Finally, line 45, this user count is on 5,000. You saw how difficult it was for this server to install Firefox. You don't want this to run to 5,000. So I would run this with 3 users, okay? The other thing you're going to need to have open is Active Directory users and computers. Because over in Active Directory users and computers, you'll need an organizational unit here at the domain level for the PowerShell script to populate into. And then you'll want to go into that organizational unit and you'll want to click refresh and you want to see that users have been added. Okay, so that is today's task. That is the lab. All we have to do is add 250 users. Okay, I've even told you need to change the user count variable, and I've told you the 2 lines that you need to change. Now, there has been a tendency in the past for people to get in here and change lots of things. Don't do that. The other common mistake is to try and run the script in a different directory to where these files are. And these files have thousands of first and last names in them, mostly German ones, strangely. So we need all of these for it to work. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is topic 8, PowerShell.